What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Josh Button podcast. Today, I'm joined by Professor Gile Huni. And if you don't know what Sloth Jiu-Jitsu is, I recommend you go right to his Instagram right now, especially if you're a midlifer like me, because, man, you have tailored the game to guys in our genre. And, let's get into it. But first, tell us how you started jiu-jitsu, how it took over your life, because it's obvious, man. You are a martial artist. You know jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu, like the advice that you're offering, is a full spectrum of lifestyle advice that will complement you staying on the mats for the long term. So how did you come to this?
Anyway, first of all, just Josh, thank you for inviting me on your podcast. I've been following you for a while now, and I like the topics which you cover. It's really it's right in my in my neighborhood. Like the I think we follow the same kind of things. So I'm really happy to be here. And yeah, so my name is Gile Huni. So my real name is Guillaume Huni. I'm half French, half Filipino, and I've been living in Belgrade, Serbia, Eastern Europe for 20 years. My wife is Serbian, and I have an academy here, Kimura BJJ Serbia, and I've been training BJJ for a bit over 25 years now. Started in Paris, France, 2001, and I've been lucky enough to train all around the world and compete all around the world and stuff. And for the last 12 years, I'm full-time jiu-jitsu. I just full-time with academies, training, doing seminars, traveling. I have many affiliates around Europe, and I have a website. It's called BJJ Eastern Europe, or bjje.com, if some people are familiar with. And I've been doing full-time that. And for the last 2 years, I released my own instructionals, which have surprised me that they've been so successful. I wasn't expecting this, but I'm very happy with how it's going. So yeah, I think we have a lot of things to talk about today.
Man, first and foremost, you started jiu-jitsu when I was a baby, and in my head, how I feel it. In the same city, though. I was living in Paris in 2001. Yes.
Oh, tu parles français? You speak French?
Je comprends un peu. Well, no, I do not, and it's been a long time since I practiced at all.
What were you
I
doing?
was modeling.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, nice, man. Nice.
A different life altogether. And
So you didn't have the beard?
No. I had this baby face.
Wow.
Baby faced and walking the runways back then.
Pretty boy, man.
Exactly.
Awesome. So you have cauliflower ears now? Let me see, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank God for
No more model.
Awesome. Thank God for jiu-jitsu, brother.
Thank God for jiu-jitsu, man. Exactly, man. Awesome.
So what made you walk in the doors in Paris? What happened?
So what made me start jiu-jitsu in Paris? Well, my generation is UFC 1 and 2. I watched UFC 1, and I think I had watched like some VHS tape or something, like bootleg VHS tape in like 95, 96. And actually, I was living in London in those days. My dad was working there, and Roger Gracie was not there yet, so there was nowhere to train. And my dad passed away in 97. So me and my mom, we moved back to the Philippines, and I was in high school there, and I found out there was some jiu-jitsu there already. We had a guy called Alvin Aguilar. He's the first Filipino black belt, and he was training under the Horian Hoys in Torrance, California, in the 90s. So I met those guys back then, and then I didn't actually formally train with them, but I started training in around 99. Actually, I went to a couple of classes, but I didn't stay. It's stupid. I could have had 2 more years of training, but I wanted to party. I was like, in college, I wanted to party, have fun. So I formally started training in 2001. Before that, I did a bit of judo, Muay Thai, so I was already a tough guy, let's say. But proper jiu-jitsu, 2001. White belt, getting beaten up by everybody, the whole experience, man, I fell in love with it. I knew when I started, man, I said, this is going to be my life one day. I'm going to be a black belt, 100% I'm going to be a black belt. And then it took over. I became obsessed with it, training 2 times a day. When you're 21, you can train 2 times a day, no problem. You don't get tired, So,
yeah. It's funny you said you could have had 2 more years on the mats, but you never know. With those 2 more years, you might have had some injury or some other setback.
Yeah, no regrets, man. Honestly, 2 years in Paris, studying, partying, going out, all that. That's a great experience. You know it, man. You live there, Yeah. So yeah. So it's all good. It's all good, man. And then so after that, I went to Brazil. I spent like 3 months in Rio. My coach was Brazilian guy, so he invited us to go there. And man, I was like a blue belt in Rio. training at Alliance Jiu-Jitsu Academy in Ipanema, and I competed in the Mundials. My coach, he signed me up to the World Championships, which was still in Brazil in those days. And in my division, this is crazy, man. I had some guys, you may know them now. They were just like unknown blue belts back then. There was Braulio Estima, there was Rodrigo Cavaca, there was Vini Magalhães, and I fought a guy called Alexander Cecchoni. He lost to Bushesha in the world's finals at black belt, you know. And I mean, these are who's, but they were unknown back then, you know. And then, I mean, I wasn't even deserving to be on the mat with them, you know. The level was so high, you know.
Well,
So yeah.
you've got no shortage of monsters that you're training with now. I saw your photos a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, all right, all
Yeah,
right.
yeah. It's yeah, over here, man. I mean, I'm like 6'1", 200 pounds, but I'm just a regular guy here. You know, we got big, not just big, super strong. You know, like very athletic and very tough. You know, they don't mess around here. You know, but very friendly. Everybody's nice. Yeah, it's jiu-jitsu. You know, everywhere you go around the world, if you're in the right academy, people are nice, man. You know, and they're accommodating. You know,
Yeah, it's something I love about the community for sure.
yeah,
And one of the
yeah.
one of the reasons it was really easy to commit to this process and serving the community is because like it's so humbling. It's so many different people to respect, so many different walks of life that they come from. And yeah, they usually have open arms and are more than willing to help you out no matter where you're at in the journey. So
That's true. That's true. Like I always say people they start training because of self-defense and fitness, but they stay because of mental health and for the community. You know, that's the biggest value of jiu-jitsu for sure, man.
100%. So when did you know, like you said, you were going to be a black belt, and you knew you were going to be a black belt. When did you know you wanted to make it your life and you wanted to have your own academy? And what were the steps that you took to get to that?
Okay, to have my own academy, that was until way later, but I knew I was going to be a black belt, and I knew I wanted to train for the rest of my life. You know, I didn't know like how far it would take me and all that, but I knew that I want to continue with this. You know, this it really just took over. You know, and everything. You know, the way you were, the way I was thinking, the way, you know, the people I started hanging out with. You know, and it hasn't died down. You know, I thought maybe it's just the beginning. You fall in love with it, honeymoon period, but then it just gets. I think it just keeps growing and growing and growing for 25 years. You know, my wife is like, you know, I can't even talk about jujitsu at home. You know, it's like, it's like just because like my daughter trains also. So I mean, we just, when we're at home, it's family time. We don't talk about jujitsu, you know. It's
Yeah,
good
I
to have
can.
a balance, you know.
Yeah, I can relate to the need of balance. I mean, my parents and my friends and family are like, all right, enough of the jujitsu. All right.
They can't take it anymore, man. You know, it's too much.
That was another reason to start the podcast so I could talk to other people that have the same interest. And,
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah. So you developed Sloth Jiu-Jitsu, and if you're 6'1", 200 pounds, you're a pretty big guy. You didn't necessarily make that out of necessity for being overwhelmed with size all the time. It was dealing with guys that were younger and were faster and more athletic, or they were never going to,
Yeah, so a little backstory, like, so when I was younger, I was very explosive, you know, and I was kind of spazzy, you know, especially when I was a blue belt. I was like all strength, you know, I was a typical bully blue belt kind of guy, you know, like. And of course, the more you train, the more you get beaten up, right? And that makes you more humble and all that, which is great, you know, that's part of growing up. But my whole game was based on crazy flexibility, crazy speed, strength. And when I was brown belt, I was a 30-year-old brown belt, and I got an injury. I tore my hamstring. You know, I was doing a thing called, you're familiar with it because you're from fight sports, right? I did a thing called tornado guard. You know, tornado guard. You know, the cyborg, right?
Yep.
So I was like lifting a guy like a catapult on my hamstring, and then it just popped, you know. So I was faced with a dilemma. I said, like, you know, I got to change my game so I can be relevant, you know, I can roll. So I started thinking, man, what can I do? You know, started to instead of doing like spider guard and inverted guard and all that kind of crazy stuff, I went to half guard. Started doing half guard, and I was terrible in the beginning. People were passing me left and right, and I guess kept going at it. You know, when you train jiu-jitsu, you're hard-headed. You want to solve the problem all the time, right? So I started doing that, and then on the top game, I used to do crazy toreadas. I used to go left, right. Outside, what they call now outside passing. You know, that's what I was doing, right? Well, you know, no more. I just started doing body locks, super tight pressure passing, tripod passing. You know, like just tightness. You know, and it worked way better. And when I was rolling with younger guys, you know, that's when I thought, you know, I cannot beat them by trying to go their speed. I cannot beat them by trying to go their strength or whatever. I have to to stick to them, you know. And of course, this game I didn't invent it, you know. Everybody does this game, you know. But I think that what I developed for myself and later for others that is what I call the sloth mindset. Basically, it's kind of a mindset where you roll very relaxed and without any kind of explosiveness, you know, but you're in control the whole time. This is very it takes a lot of years of practice and sensitivity to be able to do this, you know. My advice to people if they want to do this is you start, let's say, like, whatever, you say you're a blue belt, you start doing this with white belts. You give up positions, let them attack you, and then you just stay relaxed the whole time. You wait for them to make a mistake, and then you capitalize, you know. And the whole time you control your breathing so that you're not, you know, you're not like like that. You just breathe through your nose, calm. And this, for me, is something which, if you embrace this mindset, you can train forever. You know, you will not get tired. You will not get injured. You know, everything is under control. And I've proven this by competing like this. You know, I compete here. I used to compete at a much higher level, let's say, like in adult, like purple belt, brown belt. And then as I got older, I did like black belt. I did like European like 10 times already, every belt. Nowadays, I compete just locally. I don't have much, you know, compete in even adult divisions here. Oh, yeah. So where did this whole mindset arrive? You know, like, I remember this was, I don't know, maybe like 10 years ago, no more, 15 years ago. I saw Eduardo Teles compete the Europeans, man. You know, and I was watching it from the stands. You know, I'm like, wow, he's so relaxed. You know? Okay, he was fighting already in the Masters division and stuff, so he was a bit more relaxed, and he was just sitting down, like just chill. You know, everybody there looked so nervous and like aggressive, and he was like, "Hey, man, cool, relax." You know, and you know his game, like the turtle guard and that kind of stuff. And wow, this is so cool to watch. That someone so calm, and but he's a killer. You know, you don't know, he's setting traps. You know, you can't just you go there, attack him. So yeah, so I was watching, I'm like, man, I want to emulate that, you know. And so I started like doing that in the gym, you know, against lower belt guys. And then as the month and years passed, I started doing to even to my black belts. I have like 12 black belts here, students in my gym, and it works great because you're not using so much energy. You know, of course, you're not giving away against black belts. You're not gonna give away positions because you're not gonna get them back. You know, those guys are so good, but you're not matching their intensity. You know, like this, you're not fighting fire with fire. You're fighting fire with water. That's the way I see it. You know, you kind of like you're making them calmer by you being calm. You know, the guy's super aggressive. So basically, how am I gonna slow him down? I'm gonna attach myself to him. So I'm gonna grab a limb and then I'm gonna climb the tree. You know, so I grabbing the leg, I climb the leg, I go to the hips. I'm climbing now I'm on the hips and the leg, and whatever he's trying to do, I'm weighing him down. As you see, I'm weighing him down. He's gonna calm down, and that's when I start to climb, start to get the back or go for a sweep, you know, or mermaid guard, which I love to do, etc., etc. That's a whole game. It's a constant game that's progressing. Like whatever I'm showing now, I think in 5 years is gonna be even more developed because I'm seeing more and more reactions every day in training and competition. Competition is actually easier than in training because these guys they don't know this game. My students they're solving the problem every day. So I have to come up with new solutions, you know, which is this is why jiu-jitsu was amazing, right? I mean,
Absolutely. So, did you notice the breadth via other black belts and other people that were really experienced?
Yeah, that's a very good question because actually, when I was a blue belt, my coach, he was like back then he was like 49 years old. Paulo Sergio, he's a coral belt now, and I remember like my wife, well, she was my girlfriend back then. She came to watch me. She's like, hey, yeah, my boyfriend is a blue belt badass mofo, you know, he's gonna kick some ass. No, I didn't, man. I rolled with Paulo Sergio. He was a little black belt, kicked my ass, and the whole time he was breathing through his nose, and I remember I heard a choo-choo train, you know, like the Hicks and Gracie bridge, like that. And I'm like, wow, this is so powerful. And I asked him about it. I'm like, can you teach me that? No, he said, yeah, of course. And then he explained to me like this. Basically, when you control your breathing, when you're diaphragmatic breathing, you're slowing. When you're exhaling longer than your inhale, you're slowing down your pulse. You know, your resting heart rate. So what happens is that he explained to me like basically if your opponent is his heart rate like 150 and your heart rate is 80, who's getting tired here? He is, right? And then in a 5 or 6 minute match, at the end, the guy is friggin' tired, and you're cool, you know, not even tired. So start to work on that, you know. And I actually right now I'm rolling one of my students, and hey man, you gotta fix that breathing. You sound like a bulldog, man. It's not good. So yeah,
Yep.
that really helps you, man. I mean, I'm like a blue belt in breathing. There's like so many guys who are way more advanced than me, but I'm reading up on it all the time, and it helps me. I do this breathing technique also when I want to sleep. I do like I'm sure you're familiar with it. Just do like deep breath. You do 10 of those, man. You're out.
So before I started jujitsu at all, I was surfing, and I happened to fall into a community that was big wave surfers. And
Yeah.
I
Join
wasn't really, I really wasn't familiar with breath work for much of anything. And then I met Wim Hof, and I met another couple big wave surfers, and just some of the surf experiments that they were doing with the breath
Yeah. Yeah.
carried over to me recovering from alcohol and doing all these other things. So I really got into breath work really heavy. And then it was like a few years into jujitsu, I looked at a black belt training in the room with me, and he was doing the same exact thing, just nasal only,
Yes.
super cool as a cucumber. And I was like, oh yeah, the breath work. It
But
just makes so much sense.
unbelievable. I think most people, I think the large majority of people, they don't even know how to breathe. Even
Yes,
most athletes don't even know how to breathe. You know, you see high level guys in jiu-jitsu, they're breathing through the mouth, they're rolling, right? It's crazy. I think it's okay to breathe sometimes, like in a crazy scramble. Yeah. But once you hold a position, just calm, right? I mean, and that translates to the way you roll after it. That'll calm your system, and then you get less tired.
100%. And for recovery purposes, like
Yeah,
when you get out of training, for sure.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
So you started doing this breath work in your roles. Did you do anything off the mats? Did you think about it off the mats? Did you like take Hickson's videos and you just go, oh, you
Yeah.
know what? I'm going to start doing this as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like, I'm 46. I got a wife and kid. Whenever someone, just annoys me or breaks my, and that annoys you, basically, I'm just
Yep.
there, heavy breathing, and it just calms you down. Whenever you want to snap at somebody, just do your breathing, just and makes you think twice. That's I think that translates to everything in life. That's for yeah.
100%. Much more peaceful life. In the US, we have a big problem with road rage, and
Everywhere,
yeah,
man. Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
always tell the person is in fight or flight. They're mouth breathing all the time, and they're just reactionary to every little thing. And
All emotional reaction. Some guy cuts you off in traffic. Why?
yeah,
Like, what's the point? Like, I got this way of thinking. I call it, it's not that deep. You know, I made a video about it. I don't know if you saw it. Like, it's not that deep. And like, someone insults you, it's not that deep. Someone says something about you, it's not that deep. Just don't take anything personal. Just life is too short. Just
yeah, that's it. Most things aren't really personal, and we can interpret them as something personal when they really aren't.
yeah, for
So,
sure, man.
what is this crocodile passing?
Crocodile passing, it's just I mean, this is an old school pass. I mean, the double underhook pass. It's a type of tripod pass, but like a, how do you call it, like a horizontal pass. Right? And basically you're slowly climbing on your opponent, and not giving him any kind of space. So basically, I was rolling with this guy many years ago, and he said, "Man, I feel like I'm rolling with an old stinky crocodile." Like, what? Like, yeah, it's horrible. I can't breathe. And you're just all over me. I can't even move you, and you're just slowly inching your way there until you get to this like mother position. I can't do anything. Said, man, yeah, it's a crocodile, like a crocodile. And I was even wearing like a green rash guard then and all that. So I think that's why it influenced him. So I started like developing this in training again, in competition again. And then yeah, I released an instructional. But like I said, it's nothing new. But I explained I explain my own approach to this kind of type of path. And it binds with the Sloth Jiu-Jitsu mindset.
Yeah, I think that's the beautiful thing about jujitsu is like maybe we're not really reinventing things, but everybody's got their perception of
Yeah,
events and how it works for them. And man, I pick up details from Wagner all the time where I'm like, how come I never thought of that? How come it never dawned on me that one little thing? And if you're paying attention, I think in jujitsu, you'll always come up with new things like that.
absolutely. Like we always have these like aha moments, right, in training. You
Yeah.
just roll with somebody. I said, "Oh my god, I never thought about that." Like, or for example, I was rolling with someone the other day, and then I just realized, like, for example, I have this thing I do from dogfight where instead of coming up and sitting on my and being on my knees in dogfight, I cut it in the middle. So basically, like, I'm in coyote half guard, instead of going to dogfight, I'll go straight and sweep the leg right away. So the guy doesn't even have time to defend. So
You mean like from your hip?
yeah, so I'm still in half guard, and as I'm transitioning to come up to dogfight, I'll grab the leg and pull.
Oh
So
yeah,
he,
yeah,
he
yeah.
doesn't have time to to prepare to defend. It's like it's as he's like, oh shit, he's coming up, boom, it's already I'm already on top. So like these kind of like things that happens during a roll. And then I'm like, oh my god, like, let me see that again. Like, so all these little things I share, like the whole setups. Like I'll show, like, okay, this. You know how it is, man. It's the little details that count. Like this little underhook here, or you're blocking the hip. This makes a huge difference.
Yeah, one of the things I admire about that and the way you described it, the crocodile passing and sloth jiu-jitsu in itself, is for the bottom man or for the man that's being kind of climbed, that's kind of one of the most miserable ways to go in
Dude,
jiu-jitsu.
horrible. So I was teaching the crocodile passing in a seminar in Greece like a few months ago, and I was showing it to everybody. And then this white belt, so I was rolling with everybody after, and this white belt, he did it to me, and I'm like, holy cow! I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even defend. He did it perfectly, and his weight was on me. And at the end, like he got double underhooks, and he was lifting my shoulders like that. My elbows were over my head. You know it is when when your
Yeah.
elbows are, you're done, man. You're cooked.
Yeah.
And I'm like, got it, it's perfect. And a white belt can do it to you perfectly, then it's a good technique. It worked.
Yeah, I think one of the things with experience is it's hard for people to get positions like that on you. So when
Yeah,
you're doing positionals or whatever, and you're starting in a bad position, and if somebody's really proficient with it, you're like, oh yeah, this is miserable.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. But yeah, this is something which is good for the older guys. Because I get messages every day. Hey man, I got this Jake, 19-year-old wrestler, keeps kicking my ass. So what should I do? I'm like, okay, tell me more. Send me some rolling. Okay, do this to him, do that to him. And basically the message is always the same. You just have to slow them down. You have to slow them down, be patient. And bring him to the deep water. Bring him to your world. Maybe Jake is a great guard passer, but his guard sucks. So it was often the case with this young athletic guy. So you have to just block him in half guard, sweep him, and then once you sweep him, then you just put on the pressure. And a lot of us older guys got this old man strength. How do you call it, this isometric strength, which gets better and better as you age. You don't have that. You don't feel that squeeze with young guys. You feel that squeeze with old, and older women also. So that
Do you get a lot of people that reach out to you like that? Come
a lot,
across your
a lot from all around the world, and I answer everybody. Like I've got maybe like 5 messages a day. So sometimes I'll even do like a video, like with one of my friends. I'll show them that. And yeah, it's great. For me, it's a blessing that I have like guys in the States or guys in Canada or in Australia who are reaching out to me, and I build a little community. Like us older dudes.
yeah.
And older women also. It's like it's even like yeah, even older like 30 and over ladies who they reach out. We're all living in the same kind of a situation, man, trying to survive as middle-aged people in jiu-jitsu.
Absolutely. That's one of the reasons I started this. I saw all these midlifers that would come in, be excited about jujitsu, really love it, but then kind of stray away for one reason or another, an injury or life caught up with them,
Can,
and
can you imagine like being like, I don't know, like a 55-year-old white belt who like, I don't know, like 60 kilos or something, man. That must be hell, man. At least
yeah.
if you're bigger, you can take it, but man, that's them, it's not already being younger and lighter is hard, but imagine being like 55 or 60, so yeah, yeah.
100%. So how many languages do you speak, bro?
Well, fluently, French, English. Now I speak Serbian, and I always make a joke. Once you speak Serbian, you speak
Yeah.
Croatian, speak Montenegrin, you speak Bosnian, because it's all ex-Yugoslavia, And what else? I can falar pouco português também, speak a bit of Portuguese, speak Filipino, Tagalog, but it's rustic. I'm half Filipino. I understand a bit of Spanish. That's more or less it. And once you speak Serbian, you understand all the Slavic languages, Russian, all those other languages,
So have you translated anything in your YouTube or anything else into other languages, and
No,
do you distribute?
English. Everybody, dude. I think all around the world, everybody trains jiu-jitsu. They speak. Yeah, for sure.
It's funny. At my first gym in California, we had a couple guys that were learning English by the day because they were like straight out of Brazil and they
Yeah.
had just gotten there, and they had some TV English and they had a little bit that they were picking up. And then they would look at me all the time in the middle of a roll and they'd be like, what's that mean?
That's the best way to learn. That's the best way to learn a language is when you train jujitsu and you're surrounded by people there. So in my gym I have a lot of Russians. We're in Belgrade. So when the war in Ukraine started, so a lot of Russians who were drafting, who I want to avoid the military draft, they came to Serbia. Like we have 100,000 Russians in Belgrade. It's like 10% of the population. So I have like 30 Russians in my gym, including 2 black belts and some brown belts stuff. But a lot of these guys, it was hard for them to learn Serbian because like Russians, they only speak Russian. They're not used to learning other languages. Told them, guys, the best way to learn Serbian, which is very similar anyway, but is to be in our academy, because I teach in Serbian actually. I I teach in Serbian. It's not easy all the time. But, my brain is still thinking in English or in French, but that's the best way to learn it. You're surrounded, by immersion.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the only way I learned the little bit of French that I did, is because I had no choice. It was like everybody
Yeah.
around me was speaking French.
In the fashion industry, they learn the French there.
Yeah. And in Italy, the Italian, it's just the way it worked.
Yeah, nice. So, how long were you in modeling for? How many years?
22.
22 years. Wow. Okay. Well, you work with all the famous male models and stuff.
Yeah, I did it all. I pretty much did it all. I worked for Armani for over a decade, and I worked for Hugo Boss a ton when I was really young, and then back again when I was older. And once you're in the business that long, it's really small business.
Yeah, man. Hey, did you know that there was what's the name of this instructor? He's a black belt in New York under Checkmat, and he was a famous male model also.
Not no, checkmate.
No, so he was Alliance before, right? And he was the Alliance guy in New York, and then he went to Checkmat.
I mean, there's a few guys actually that were in the modeling industry for sure. And actually, when I was modeling in New York, there was a guy named Dave Gannett with my gym who was in the Blue Basement forever, and then another buddy of mine who trained at Enzo's kickboxing, and I was always right next to the gym, and it was just ironic. Even at the time I was leaving New York, I was like, oh man, jujitsu, I should have done that when I was young. It would have been cool to do that. And then I start a decade after that. So I've always kind of been around it a little bit, but I started late, and I was just coming into a conversation a week or two ago, and I was like, I really wish I would have started younger, but maybe it was a blessing that I found it when I found it, and I was ready for it. My lifestyle was different, which brings me into lifestyle with you. What's the recovery off the mats that you focus on, and how many things is there in your routine that really just kind of helps you stay on the mats?
To be honest, I try everything. I'll try all the supplements, see what works and all that, and it's tough, man. Like I train 6 days a week. So very often I wake up like I feel like I got hit by a bus. I wake up in the morning, I feel horrible. And as the day goes by, it gets easier and easier until it gets like afternoon. I feel okay already, right? And but yeah, let me just tell you basically what works for me. So I wake up in the morning, I'll take a cold shower. That first thing. If I don't take a cold shower, it's like I feel like shit the whole day. I need that just to calm down the inflammation and all that stuff. And then I'll have like I'll have a double shot of espresso. So, yeah, I need that, man. And then just I don't have a morning routine where I'm busy. I drive my daughter to school at 7 a.m. and afterwards I got some time for myself. I walk the dog, so just walk the dog and in the sun, get a bit of sunlight, natural sunlight. Even though in the winter there's not so much here, just like it's good for like breathing and all that. And then I do some work and so supplementation. I've tried everything, man. I've tried. And for me, what works, I do about 10 grams of creatine nowadays. Since I was 17, I've always been taking 5 grams, but since I started doing 10 grams about a year ago, I really feel it. 10 to 15 grams. I think on the heavy training days, 15 grams. And I have a doctor, actually. I have a longevity doctor who follows me for the last 2 years. So I do all my like biomarkers with him and stuff. He still checks everything. And what else? I take. So he recommended me what to take. We did a thing called NutriVal test where they tested my gut biome and everything. They saw all my deficiencies, and he saw that I was deficient in omega-3. And ever since I started to that properly, made a huge difference in recovery. Also. So I take like 2 to 3 grams of omega-3, so EPA, DHA, good quality one. It's really, for me, that's a S tier supplement, the omega-3. And then vitamin D3 with K2, very important K2, And I take, in winter, I take about 10,000 IUs a day. And in the summer, I take about 6,000. You do get a bit of sunlight, Then magnesium glycinate, I take that, I take about 700 milligrams a day, which is quite a strong dose. But it helps me also with my type 1 hypertension. I have a bit of blood pressure, so it helps me put it down, And let me tell you what I started doing about 3 months ago, which is for me a huge game changer. So I might dose Cialis, like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, man. Listen. So my doctor told me about that. He said it's for blood flow. So blood flow, it's not just for your, for down there, it helps.
Yeah.
And so, every morning I also measure my HRV, right? So heart rate variability for those who know. That's also a good marker to see how much you've recovered, right? So it always quite low, it's always around 55% or something, which is like I train so much. And ever since I started doing Cialis, 5 milligrams, which is all dose, the HRV is 18 higher. So that's a huge jump. I can see the curve went from here to here. So it's real, and that is, I can, because of that, it's basically, I don't feel as sore anymore. I always feel a bit like pumped, like my arms are a bit more swollen, shoulders. Of course, also, your thing works like really well. You're morning erections, like you're 18 years old. It's amazing, which is great. And also it's fixed my blood pressure.
Yeah.
This for me is the best, It used to be always around, I was always struggling with it around 130, 130 over 85, like at the best case scenario, 125 over 85 or 80. Now it's 117 over 75, which is amazing, So, and also it's good for resting heart rate. My resting heart rate, like normally is around 55 to 50, which is good. And then when I'm really in shape for competition, is around 40, which I think for a 46-year-old is. I heard that some top level athletes like Cristiano Ronaldo, like LeBron James, all those guys, they're around 35, or like marathon runners, they're like 35. It's like elite level, or long distance swimmers also.
Yeah, as a jiu-jitsu athlete in your mid 40s, that's a really good number, bro.
Yeah, it's a good number. It's a good number, and I'm proud about that. I don't, of course, I don't drink, I don't smoke. I think alcohol, man. I used to drink a lot. I used to party a lot. I think alcohol is like is there's nothing good about it. I know the French think, oh, glass of wine. No, man. It is every time I have a glass of wine, my blood pressure rises. I measure it, man, and the blood pressure it's not even worth it, man.
I agree 100%. I drank most of my life a decade ago when I quit. It changed my life, no matter what.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
yeah, what else? I also do during the day. I'll do L-theanine. That just keeps you calm and collected. And that's good for Sloth Jiu-Jitsu. It's perfect for Sloth Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
There was a Huberman episode like 2-3 weeks ago where he was saying almost every midlife man over 35 in the United States should probably be low dosing Cialis, and I was like,
Yes.
what? And then I went into the research a little bit on why he was saying it, and it made complete sense for sure.
Yeah. And my doctor told me about it, and I double checked with my cardiologist. Yeah, he said absolutely the research is there, it's safe. He said you can even take 2.5 milligrams. You don't have to take 5.
Yeah. So what are you eating?
What am I eating? I'm eating clean, more or less like 80-20 rule. Like 80% of the time I eat well, 20%, and I let, I'd have some pizza or ice cream. Yeah, you gotta live a bit sometimes.
See, I think ice cream's superfood.
Yeah. Hey, one more thing about supplements. I want to if I don't know if I can share this, man, but I microdose also like psilocybin. I don't know if I can talk. Can I talk about this? Or,
Of course, brother. Of course.
Okay,
Plant medicines are valid.
In some countries or whatever, it's not really, but I don't care, man. Honestly, I do that once in a while, like, and it just makes me way calmer and even more creative. It's not psychedelic. A lot of people they think makes you high. No, it doesn't. It makes you happy. It just makes you in a good mood and creative. And it just, for me, like ever since I started doing that, it makes me a better person. Honestly,
Yeah, there's the ego dissolution, like mega doses. There's different purposes for it, but I'm a firm believer in psilocybin myself. I took mushrooms when I was younger for different reasons, each and every time along the way. But most definitely, there's plenty of valid research for microdosing now and the benefits for all kinds of things.
Dude, I've competed on the microdose psilocybin, made me just chill, and I won golds and all that performing on that, you know. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
was going to say, how was your focus?
perfect, perfect,
Yeah,
man. It enhances it even, you know. Just
yeah.
makes me calm and collected, smiling, happy. I think it's the best state to be in when you're competing. It's just I'm just in the moment, living in the moment, happy. That's also one mindset I have when I compete. Is just, you know, as a 46-year-old, I mean, you're just happy to be here. I'm just grateful that I can compete. I'm there, you know, and I got young guys coming to me, hey, Gile, you know, you're my role model. I'm like, what? I said, yeah, man. He said, I want to be like you when I'm your age. I said, yeah, thanks, man. You know, yeah, they find you inspirational. But it's funny because I was like them when I was like 30. I had guys who were competing, and I told them the same thing. I said, I want to be like you when I'm your age. You know, like they were like black belts who were competing still, you know, and doing great. You know, so for me, I'm very happy. So like whatever happens, happens. I don't care. Even if I lose, as long as I give everything I got, there's no shame. You know, I don't care. Yeah,
Honestly, I hadn't competed in a few years, and then in January I did a super fight that was here in Miami, and I
nice.
went into it with the same mentality, like, bro, I get to do jujitsu with somebody who's younger,
Yeah,
who's going to test me.
yeah,
It's fun, and I
yeah.
went into it, and I had a smile the whole time, and it was a great time. And afterwards, I was like, I wish competition was like that for me back in the beginning, but now, like knowing what I know, I want to do it some more. I'm kind of hungry for it.
Yeah, but that's the mindset of most master competitors anyway. You know, like it's when you compete in a master division, we're all buddies. You know, even if before we don't know each other, we become friends after. They invite you to teach a seminar at their academy. You invite them over. You know, it's great. You know, because we're all in the same boat. We're all dads, married. You know, most of us are academy owners and stuff. You know, so we just do it to enjoy it. You know.
Yeah. So what are you telling your guys that are, 35 and up and they're coming in the gym, no matter whether they're a blue belt or they're purple and brown, what are you telling them like how to approach their training, how to kind of keep themselves on the mats as consistently as possible? What's the advice you're giving them?
To younger guys, you mean?
About 30, 35, any guys that are a little bit behind you so that you've already kind of been down that road.
I just tell them to think of jiu-jitsu like long term, you know, just to think don't it's not a race, you know, it's a marathon, and it's a life it's a lifelong journey. And just to keep your, I know it sounds cliche, but keep your ego in check. You know, like for example, don't always if you're 35, don't compare yourself with the 18-year-old guy, you know. Just don't have too many expectations. Like, oh my God, you know, why is this 18-year-old guy smashing me? Listen, you've got a job, you got kids, you got a, you know, responsibility, you got mortgages, you got a whatever hemorrhoid. You know what I mean? This guy doesn't have that, man. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't care. Yeah, yeah, his knee pops, he recovers in 2 days. You know, like, you know,
Yeah.
they're young. They have no worries yet. You know, but it'll come to them obviously one day. You know, but I tell them about that approach. You know, just have fun. You know, jiu-jitsu is, like I said, it's for mental health. It's for hanging out and making new friends, and you lose weight. You know, don't put much pressure on yourself. You know, and I know people, they think, you know, like, oh yeah, it's not good to give advice, so just keep showing up. But man, there's no secret, you know, to get good at jiu-jitsu. You just gotta keep training. You know, you need to have this resilience. When someone beats you up in training, you don't say, oh man, I'm gonna quit. You say, no, it's like, fuck you, I'll see you tomorrow, man. It's like, you know what I mean? You know, like thanks for the beating. You know, like, you know.
Yep. So how do you structure your classes? You got a traditional warm up, and then you do a drilling, and then you do positionals, or you do rolls, or what? How do you do it?
Yeah, it depends on, like, I have some classes are more for beginners, and some I have advanced classes, you know. But I'll do like I don't do any more the running around and stuff like that, you know, except for like few beginners, because beginners need to know how to break fall. They need to know, like when you're a beginner in jiu-jitsu, you don't even know how to do a front roll, man. You know what I mean? You don't have to break fall, you know, and it's our responsibilities as coaches, teach them that. So that I'll teach them. I'll even show them a bit of self defense, you know, just basic stuff which they know. And then when it's like, let's say, mid-level, I'll teach like a mixture of like a classic drilling with a bit of like ecological stuff, you know. I think ecological jiu-jitsu has some merits, honestly, you know. But you know, a lot of the these new guys are, they're a bit like extremists. Yeah, yeah, you know, this is the best way to learn. I mean, it's a great way to learn, but it's not the only way of learning, man. There's a lot of high level Olympic athletes. They don't do ecological judo or ecological wrestling. I mean, they do the good old fashioned drilling. It has benefits for sure. Like for example, for when I teach kids, I'll do a lot of ecological stuff because kids, they like to learn through games. They're not gonna you're not gonna show them, okay, this you put the lapel here, the pressure. No, they're not gonna understand it. They understand. Like I was teaching kids crocodile passing, like, yeah, you crawl like this, you crawl, and they think it's fun, and they slowly learn through that, and you add like, okay, now you have to pass the crocodile, but you cannot give him the underhook, and all these, you put all these constraints there, that's how they learn. So I'll mix a bit of all of that, and a lot of position sparring also. I think positional sparring is super important. Start from this position with, for example, this guy has a body lock, you have a Kimura, and then you work from there, etc., etc.
Did you see that interview that Faraz Sahabi did recently, where he said basically the same thing?
Yeah. I saw it, and it made sense. It made sense. Like I love Faraz. I like his way of thinking. He's a very educated guy. I think he's a philosophy major or something. But I love listening to him. He has a lot of some stuff I disagree with, obviously, but some stuff it makes a lot of, and he's an educated guy.
He definitely gets the message across in a way that's understandable for most people, for sure.
For sure, yeah.
So what about your own training? I mean, you're obviously, you've done this stuff a million times. What are you focusing on? Are you going into your training with that same mentality that you're recommending to middle-aged practitioner who's around blue belt level to focus on certain things? Or are you going in with, those thoughts at the beginning of a training session?
Yeah. So basically, like I told you, I train 6 days a week because I'm teaching class, but I'm always rolling with everybody and stuff. But so what I've been doing for the last few years, every morning I measure my HRV to see how much I've recovered. And according to what it tells me is I'm gonna determine how hard I'm gonna roll that night. So for example, if I got 55%, if it's like one, if 0 means I'm like totally, 0 means I'm dead, and 100 means I'm totally recovered, right? If I'm 55%, it's gonna tell me, okay, listen, tonight, yeah, I'm gonna do maybe 3 rolls, okay, and it's not gonna be like ADCC World Championship final rolls, okay? It's gonna be more chill, mid-level guys. If my HRV is around, let's say like 70, which is good, 75, I can go harder, because I don't want to be, my goal is to not be sore every morning.
Yeah.
I've got this thing of like, I never want to be sore. Even like I lift weights every day. I lift weights 10 to 15 minutes every day after training. For me, it works the best. I prefer doing that than doing 3 times a week. Because if I do 3 times a week, I'll do for 1 hour, and I know I'll feel beaten up tomorrow. You know what I mean? So for me, it's better after jiu-jitsu, I'll climb rope. I like climbing rope. It's good for my grips. It's good for my back, my shoulders. I'll do kettlebell swings. I love kettlebell swings. Like with a heavy kettlebell, 32 kilos, I'll do like 150 swings. Yeah, the kettlebell swings gives me the big bang for my buck. I can really feel legs are working, my glutes, my posterior chain. I do a lot of back extension also. Back extension, and that's amazing workout. I know a lot of guys who had herniated disc. They fix their back just from doing back, and yeah. So basically, that's my approach. Depending what my HRV tells me, I learned this from a Russian guy, actually. The Russian guy who was training in my gym. I asked him, like, he's like a master of sports in Russia. He told me about HRV training. Just like you measure the intensity according to your HRV, and for me, it's great because I used to get overtrained all the time. I had to go ball to the wall, and then I, even before competition, get too tired and like overtrained. But now I just taper off before competition, I go easier and all that. And I think for us older guys, it's very, very important to know, this gives you a marker to know how to listen to your body. Because it's easy to say, oh, listen to your body. Yeah, but sometimes you wanna go hard even though you're tired, right? You got this stupid tough guy mentality. I feel tired, but I want to go so hard that I just pass out. Man, no. You got to think longevity, and this gives you a good marker. This HRV training method.
So what do you use to track that? Do you wear a whoop strap or?
No, I have the polar. The thing that you put on your heart like that.
Oh yeah. The strap from the chest.
Well, yeah. So every morning I measure that. I just lay in bed and it measures everything, all the parameters, resting heart rate. I measure my blood pressure also, because what I notice, if you're resting heart rate is elevated. Like if it's like, for me, if it's like 65, something's not right. If it's usually around 55 to 50. That means that your body is still too tired, you have maybe like coming up with a flu or something. When you're sick, your resting heart rate is super high. Yeah. So the lower the better, and that tells you how much you've recovered. It's one of the parameters which I look into.
Yeah.
HRV, heart rate.
That breath work you do kind of affects that as well, huh?
Yes, it affects it tremendously. When you do slow breathing, that brings down your slow control breathing, brings down your heart rate. Absolutely.
Yeah. When I started wearing the Whoop tracker, I was working with a family out in California, and we all got the straps at the same time. The only common denominator were the straps. So all the lifestyles were different, but we saw what everybody's numbers were compared to each other. And some people didn't want to wear the strap anymore, and some people wanted to do the breath work I was doing and get those numbers in check.
For sure, man. For sure.
So is there anything else that you're like non-negotiables for yourself on the weekly basis? So you work train 6 days. What's the one day you take off? And is there a reason for that?
Yeah, Sunday, I'll take off, and also it's also learning. Sometimes like when I teach, when I was younger, I would always roll, and nowadays when as academy owner, I cannot always roll. I gotta control myself. Sometimes the students see more value in you looking at them than you rolling with them. So I can give them more advice. Hey, back then when you got swept, you tried it. But when I'm rolling, I can't see any of that. You know what I mean? Which is good. So yeah, just controlling for us older guys, just to learn how to control yourself. Maybe sometimes 3 rolls per night is enough.
So as a teacher, what's the advice that you give to other teachers in that regard? Do you think that we should be taking a certain amount of rolls off to watch our students, to guide them, to show them what they need to be working on and seeing things from an outside perspective?
Yeah, of course. But the thing is, as a coach, I mean, I'm lucky to have 12 black belts in my academy. So I'm the head coach, but I'm not the only coach, which is good. So even sometimes I don't actually teach all the classes. I only teach like 5 classes per week. I have 23 classes, but I'm always there. I'm always at the academy every night, and I'm not just there to train. I'm just there to PR, talk to the parents. Hey man, hey, how's your daughter is doing really good and all that, or this guy, I'm like, I got this advice from a friend of mine. I don't know if you know Adam Redzovich out in Chicago. Yeah, Redzovich Jiu-Jitsu. So in 2014, when I opened my academy, he came to Belgrade, and so back then the Redzovich academies, they had 3 academies that they had like 1,000 students. It was biggest academies in Chicago. He gave me advice. He goes, bro, when you, as an instructor, you need to touch each one of your students every day. And in the sense, like, you gotta touch them and talk to them and just connect with to connect with them, and that makes, I'm like, it stuck with me, like, he's absolutely right. It's not people, they come there and they want to escape their their everyday life, and they want to connect with a coach, and it makes a big difference. People want to come there to feel good, and I've been doing that, and I took it even further. I talked to every single parent there. Say hi to everybody. Hey man, how's it going? But not fake. Just, and I always remember all their injuries. Hey, how's your knee going? How's your this? Or I remember like little details about their kids or about them, their business and stuff. I always ask them about these kind of things. I think it makes a big difference.
Yeah, and it's obvious that that because of the way you interact with the community. We've already covered it in this conversation. If you're answering all those questions from around the world for people you don't know, then you're treating the people that you do know in your academies really well. It's obvious.
Comes back to you after. If you treat people with respect and you're generous with them and with your time, they'll appreciate it, and they'll recommend more people and stuff. And it's genuine, like sometimes I have a really bad day in my work or something happened, and I come to my academy. I kid you not, the first person I see and whose hand I shake, I feel positive energy right away, and then I just forget all my problems. Hey man, it feels good to be here. Like, I see some guys they're just there, they're making a joke, laughing, and it feels good to be. It's a happy place, and I'm sure it's the same in your academy. It's like your body's there, and you're filled with positive energy. We live in a crazy world, man. There's wars going on. There's so much negativity, politics. I mean, in the States, there's crazy stuff, right? In Serbia, there's crazy stuff. We have protests here every day, man. If you're just surrounded by this all the time, this negativity, you go crazy. But that's why people come to Jiu-Jitsu, and then they escape that. In my academy, we have a rule: we don't talk about politics. want to talk about religion, and we want to talk about soccer because that's very divisive. The soccer, like over here, the football,
Fort- Fortunately for us, when soccer becomes relevant like it is now, everybody can talk about it and there's no consequences whatsoever.
Yeah. Are you watching World Cup a bit then?
Wagner was going today. Him
Oh, yeah?
and Achilles were going to go watch the Brazil game. But yeah, I've watched it on TV.
Yeah. It's great. I mean, it's great. It's a great World Cup so far, man.
When I lived in Paris, as you should know, it was when they won the World Cup and the European Cups back to back.
So no, the World Cup is 98 and
98 and 2000.
2000. And then
Yeah.
it went from there. Yeah.
Yeah, I was there for both those.
Oh, really? Dude, I was in Paris in 98. I was in the Champs-Élysées celebrating, man.
Yeah, when they were throwing bricks through the windows of the stores. Yes. That was my first trip ever. I came back to Miami and then I moved back there and I was there for 2000 and 2001.
That was insane, man. Were you on the Champs-Élysées on that day or what?
Oh, no.
Oh, man. I never thought, but it was a good atmosphere. Okay, some people went crazy, but more or less it was like great atmosphere. And we have this expression in French, black, blanc, beurre. That means white, black, and beurre. Beurre is like a nickname for Arab. So all of us, so that all multicultural, France, we're all celebrating happy, and because it was a huge achievement. It was the first time that we ever won the World Cup, and we were so happy.
So I was in a 7-story walk-up, and it was a very little apartment. I was there with my girlfriend and another friend, and we shared it. And every night we would climb those stairs around 4 or 5 o'clock, and we didn't want to go down the stairs and up the stairs again. So we were watching from the balcony as the entire city, and I swear it was wild. Down both sides of the street, people were hanging out their windows and were celebrating and throwing stuff. And I was like, wow, they really like this soccer stuff.
No, but like especially the way we won, it was 3-0 against Brazil, and 2 goals of Zidane. It was insane.
Yep, Zinedine Zidane.
No one expected we would win. It was like it's like I don't know, like Team Serbia beating USA in basketball. I mean, it was crazy, man.
All right, brother. So there's this thing that I've been doing for the last several episodes, and I really like it. If you could leave the audience with one word, what would that word be? And then tell us why.
One word. Let me think about the one word. Okay, maybe like resilience. Resilience. Yeah. Do I have to explain why? I mean, I'm sure people understand. No, I mean,
they'll understand. But what's your thought process on resilience?
It's just that it's for me. It's very important. If like in jiu-jitsu, people think, oh yeah, it's for tough guys. It's not for tough guys. It's for people who are resilient, and you don't have to be a tough guy or tough girl to train jiu-jitsu. You just have to be resilient. Some of the strongest people I've seen in my academy are people who walk in day one, you think there's no way this person is going to survive jiu-jitsu. And 10 years down the line, they're black belts because they never quit. They were just resilient. There's no quit in them. And these are the toughest people. And very often the people who are super athletic, young and all that, they quit. Like I make jokes sometimes that this guy, like I had some blue belts, and they were saying, Gile, old man. I said, yeah, Gile, old man, but Gile, old man is going to survive. And you're not. And I was right. This guy quit jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? So I'm never gonna quit. If tomorrow I lose an arm or I lose a leg, God forbid, I'll still be training because you find a solution how to train. You know what I mean? So it's not, no injury should be able to stop you. If you love jiu-jitsu, then you find a way. You're resilient.
Yes, sir. Awesome. Absolutely brilliant. All right, I will put everything in the show notes. You don't have to worry about covering it, but yeah, Sloth Jiu-Jitsu, Crocodile Passing, your both your websites, both Instagrams, your YouTube. We'll get it all in there. And I appreciate your time today. I'm really grateful that we got to do this.
Thank you so much. I love the conversation, and it's great to connect.
Thank you. You guys have a great day.
All right, all the best.
Thanks for watching today's episode, and as always, go to Lineage Provisions for 15% off of the best protein from regenerative agriculture. And my personal favorite, Lineage Provisions. 15% off, code Josh Button. You guys enjoy. Have a great day.